the United States and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We're up in all those places, having some conversations about that earlier today, about why, and simple reason is, A, we already have some people tuning in from there, including Mondo Moncada with the howdy to you as well, their partner. But a lot of other reasons is to make it the most accessible to y'all, wherever you be, however you may be, and in what other ways you are, including Mark Mandingo saying hello to all Talk El Paso people from UMC. Hope everything's all right there. Don't need to divulge anything if you don't want to, but anytime someone says, unless you're just visiting, and even then, there still might be reason to wonder, y'all okay out there, but hope you all are, and so certainly good afternoon to you as well. So however you're tuning in, however you're chiming in, however you're participating, you're not in the show, but as long as you're staying informed and helping us accomplish, well, you don't have to, but what we're going to focus on, those two missions about, A, having live local talk radio in the borderland, because damn it, I think we deserve it. Now, I've not been anywhere near anything that would dissuade me of that particular opinion, but also having the ability to talk about the things that affect us here in the borderland, because no one else is going to have those discussions the way we are, talking about the things that happen here, occur here, and there's a lot of stuff swirling around this area today, including upgraded charges expected, going to be charged with murder in that Uber driver shooting. Also, a former congressman representing parts of our area. It was smaller at the time, but announcing a run for presidency, making it the second congressman from our area, or former congressman, I should say, to have decided to throw his hat into a ring in a very different way. We're talking about Will Hurd in the Republican race, but we'll delve into that. Also, a whole lot more on education, with more raises, more financial compensation in a variety of ways, and also more searches. We talked about vacancies a bit, but there's even more, including searches up in Las Cruces, and also now Fabens, well, going to be coming up. Also, some major demographic shifts, a lot of reporting and note coming on what the census is saying about the demographic makeup of Texas, as well as, well, just because we've talked about it, interest rates and what may or may not be, and here's a hint, it's going to be looking like, at least from what the Fed is saying on its own right, that it's pretty well coming. So a lot to talk about with just even these things today, but also like issues with the impeachment trial going to be happening for the embattled Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Those dates getting announced, but even beyond that, talking about some of the local elected officials, specifically our interview today, extended interview with Claudia Lizette Rodriguez, former city council representative for City of El Paso, District Number 6, responding to and laying out what she knew and what she was told and what her response to it was, and even further responses to accusations that are going on with it, with the spending card issues. Blanket term that I'm trying out for, because you say gas card and P card, and then there's the P card. Is it procurement or is it purchasing? We're just going to say spending card issues with the city of El Paso, and her responding to that, even as there are more audits and investigations on the way. So a lot to get into today. A lot of people chiming in, including Joseph Lorenzen, airing off some dirty laundry there, saying a bone to pick with El Paso Citizen Recycling Center in the Northeast specifically. A little bit too long for that comment to show up on our screen here, but that's one of the ones coming in. Also, Austin Redfern wishing a good afternoon to Talk El Paso fans. Doing well myself here. Thank you for asking. As well as John Brazelton. Yes, it's one of the big national stories, and I'll just mention it here and hope to, maybe not put it to bed or some of those things. But yes, there has been the wreckage now found of that the Titan Sud by Ocean Gate. Looks like it was, at least the information available at the time, an immediate implosion. So a catastrophic pressure failure, which, to my understanding of those systems, having been obsessed with subs for a brief period of my youth, think maybe it would have been pretty instantaneous. But yeah, another way, very grim way to put it. Richard Janicek, Titanic claims 5 more 113 years later. So yes, that is continuing to dominate national and international headlines. But we got plenty to talk about the local aspect. Don't worry about it. So, like specifically from our news partners at KFOX 14, new today is that as there was the speculation and then confirmation coming out yesterday about the family of the Uber driver that was shot in the head and on life support in an incident late last week, making the difficult decision to take him off life support, as basically the physicians and doctors in charge of him said that there was nothing more that could be done. So it was taken off life support Wednesday and died shortly thereafter. That being Daniel Piedra Garcia, 52, leading to now 48-year-old Phoebe Cobos of Tompkinsville, Kentucky, to be now having upgraded charges. Was previously facing aggravated assault causing serious bodily injury, a felony in its own right, but now being charged with murder and now in jail under a $1.5 million bond. More hearings are expected at the end of this week on it, though, again, with this new wrinkle specifically in that case, these upgraded charges. So a couple of things going on in our region as we're going to move pretty quickly to that other interview, as we also have those dropping those likes and reacts we appreciate, including Robbie Flores and Flaco Jimenez, and the other questions coming in about departments and issues. Hopefully their clarification in the comments over there with that, and don't want to miss out on saying also Joseph Lorenzen and Monica Cervantes, do appreciate it. So marking at least in recent memory, maybe there were some previous ones before my time anyway, the second time that we have had a congressional representative covering at least parts of the borderland, our area, definitely El Paso County in its own right, running for president. This time it's former Congressman Will Hurd, who is for the Texas 23rd Congressional District, always kind of an interesting district in its own right, given the broad span of territory that it covers. Always kind of an embattled district in its own rights. The fact that Tony Gonzalez, the current Republican representative, was able to hold on to it without any too significant chances or challenge. I mean, he managed to pass through it pretty handily, in my appraisal of it. What has been previously a pretty insurgent district. It's that whole back and forth thing, because it's cute. It covers Big Bend. There's a whole lot of nothing out there, like beautiful nothing. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of population, not much to talk about until you start getting to, well, the outskirts of El Paso or San Antonio, which is where it spans between. I know the fact that there's one congressional district between El Paso and San Antonio just kind of blows my mind every time I take a look at that map. And so he held an interesting road during his time in office as a congressional representative, often speaking against things, including the border wall, which, of course, at that point in time during the first Trump administration, was not there, at least with the National Party, necessarily that popular of a stance, and led to him, among other things, deciding not to seek re-election in decently short order after having served those 3 terms, and now is going to be, well, running for president, going and throwing his hat into an interview with CBS Mornings into the ring for the Republican nomination, making it a number of them. I've lost track of the actual number of them that are now running in this race, though it has led to a lot of national commentary, among other things, including an interesting one from The Hill out a little bit before the show this afternoon, saying Republicans fear growing 2024 field clears path for Trump. Because as much as most part of our top of the hour at 13, James Radcliffe saying, I thought it was pretty close to a dozen, if not at. So yeah, that sounds about right, making this an increasingly crowded field. So the still question that remains in my mind is Hurd apparently in his many of his announcements and interviews that he's been doing to be here in John Browson, saying another wannabe Beto. Interesting comparison. I'll leave that up to the audience to decide, particularly on that one. But I will say that's the issue here is, I mean, Hurd has not shown himself particularly unwilling to criticize the former president, but that still appears to be the issue that a whole lot are dancing around in that whole thing. But still, the fact that we've had someone representing a local area running for president again within, let's just call it, better part of a decade, if not closer to that, is a little weird, right? like that, there's a lot of that going on lately. So that's an interesting thing going on with our local elected officials. But a few other things I want to note that we'll get into a little bit later at this point, because we're approaching the need to take that first break already, including the fact that education changes, Socorro ISD looking at raises for its teachers and a stipend, but also a couple of searches either ongoing or now having to go on for the local school board. So we'll have to talk a lot more about that, and of course the impeachment of Ken Paxton. But got to take that first break of this hour right now. You're of course tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Coming up after this break, getting into that extended interview with Claudia Lizette Rodriguez, former city council representative for El Paso City Council, District Number 6, her response and what she knew about the gas card and spending card in general controversy. So all that and a whole lot more. Stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch for slowing for the accident reported on Montwood eastbound at Joe Battle Boulevard, or avoid delays. Take an alternate route like Edgemere Boulevard instead. Also a crash reported North Desert Boulevard. Before you get to Paseo del Norte at Helen of Troy, you could use Northwestern or Wrestler as an alternate route. Fire crews on scene for a medical emergency on Viscount eastbound at Sunmount. That's your traffic.
This report is sponsored by Verdict with Ted Cruz Podcast.
I'm Ben Ferguson.
And I'm Ted Cruz. This week's podcast answers your questions about the Trump indictment. What's in the indictment? How is it different from Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton? Will there be a trial? What's next?
Download Verdict with Ted Cruz now.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Ricardo, quote, "This is one of the greatest inventions ever. I know this may sound like I'm exaggerating, but this sucker is amazing. The first time I did it, I couldn't believe what came out of my sinuses. I could breathe with ease. My wife just bought one too. Thank you for this product," unquote. He's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
Make the right choice for your home when it comes to windows and doors. For more than 20 years, the Window Depot has provided the best price and biggest inventory on in-stock windows and doors. The Window Depot is open to the public, so whether you're a homeowner or a contractor, you can shop the enormous warehouse. Browse the shelves with over 1,000 vinyl windows, interior and patio doors and skylights in several varieties and sizes available to go home today. Shop thewindowdepot.com or find a location near you. Lowest prices, biggest inventory.
If you're hiring, it can feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. Like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Now try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/FREE.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, and a lot of commentary coming in over our social media channels, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk on pretty much most of those, including, on the whole sub thing. I expect that, there's a lot to be said there. And as much as I have never wished death upon any person in particular, there's still a lot of questions and what the heck was anyone thinking about that? Even if, thoughts and prayers absolutely go to their families as well. Just messed up situation. I'll just put it that way. And other conversation about the more local aspects of it here. So getting back into that then, got a chance to sit down. Of course, we've been talking about the whole gas card, started as the gas card situation, and then expanded now into the P card, purchasing card, I think is the correct term for it. I've also seen it listed as procurement, spending cards in general for when it comes to officials within the city of El Paso, and the investigations now going into them. There have been accusations, ethics complaints that have been filed, as of course was the subject of our previous interview with local activist, primarily in the disability sphere, but also, of course, in this way, George Zavala. And so, of course, we got some statements from the two city reps, current and former, respectively, with current rep, that being Cassandra Hernandez, and former rep Claudia Lizette Rodriguez, giving them a opportunity to respond or give their 2 cents to it. We had some of their statements in the immediate playing back of that previous interview, but did make the offer to have them come in and explain more fully their perspective and what they think is going on and what has been said so far with it. So got the chance to sit down a little bit earlier today with Claudia Lizette Rodriguez in order to talk about that, and we went in depth. So trying something a little bit different with this interview. We usually break it up into a couple, but trying to do it in one full gasp here to get the full context of all of the answers and such. So here is that interview. Enjoy. Joining me now, we have Claudia Lizette Rodriguez, former El Paso City Council representative. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely happy to have you on, particularly as there's been a lot of conversation and discussion going around a couple of connected issues within City Council, particularly focused on your previous term of office there. Two things people have probably been hearing about, the gas cards, of which there was some information coming out a little bit later, late last year, early this year specifically, and now more information that's been coming out and more reaction that's been coming out about purchasing card, P cards in general, either purchasing or procurement cards. I've seen it listed both ways, both in reports and city documents even. So there's been a lot of things going out about this, and particularly involving yourself, including previous interviews that we've aired on our airwaves. So wanted to go ahead and step back a bit and kind of get to some baselines here as much as is possible. So when it comes to particularly the gas card use, the information on that is that these were cards issued to city council members in order to have them being used for fueling of vehicles on official city business. At least that's what the reports are. When it comes to your perspective, knowledge, and information on it, what was your presentation to you on how this works, and how was it supposed to be working out, and what were the policies, guidelines, et cetera, that you were made aware of?
Sure. So just so that everyone's aware, when I first ran for city council in 2019, I came in knowing that there was a salary for the position, but I wasn't aware of any executive privileges that came along with the job. One of those executive privileges was the fuel card. And I was given a fuel card, and this fuel card, basically, all that was said to me was, you could use this at any Alon.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I was said. Here's your fuel card. Here's your PIN number. You could use it at any Alon. That's all I was said. There was never anything like you need to turn in receipts. You need to stick to a limit. You have a radius. There was nothing ever mentioned to me like that. It was just, you could use this at any Alon. The other thing that I think is really important to know is that when I came in 2020, I was sworn in on February 17th, 2020. And I was there in council for about 2 council meetings, and then COVID hit. And then what happened? Everything went virtual. Everybody went virtual. Everybody shut down. And we were basically locked up for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And so there wasn't a lot of opportunity for things to be explained to me properly. From what I understood, the fuel card, along with the P card, along with discretionary funds, they're all approved in the budget meetings. So whenever we have our budget resolutions, all of that is included in there. So there is no, right now, anything that is being observed, I should say. There's nothing to say, hey, we went above or beyond the limit, because those limits were never set to begin with. And everything was already pre-approved or approved in the budget hearings. In the budget resolution, I'm sorry.
The budget resolution, I know those are the ones that happen more or less each city council meeting, or we're talking about the yearly process then?
No, so there's a yearly process, but then there's an actual budget resolution where the entire budget for the fiscal year. The fiscal year, I want to remind everybody, runs from September 1st through August 31st. So for example, when somebody wants to say, hey, you spent this much money in 2023, that's not completely accurate, because that's not the way the city budget works. The city budget works is from September 1st through August 31st. So that's how you need to be reporting stuff. That's how you need to be looking at what's being spent by members of council.
So what information were you given? Any documents, presentations, etc., about usage restrictions, proper guidelines for how this gas card, or then again P card, has been coming up more recently, were supposed to be used, what the purpose was behind them, and again like guidelines specifically, anything like that?
Right. So as far as the fuel card, there was no guidelines. All I was told was you could use this at any airline. That's all that was said to me as far as the fuel card goes. As far as the P card goes, there was a lot more guidelines. There was, I would say, more training. Not only was I trained on it, my staff was also trained on it. And one of the things that we have to do with those P cards is that we have to reconcile them on a monthly basis. So what that means is that we have to turn in all the receipts, and there has to be some sort of, I guess, internal audit within the office saying like, hey, this was spent. Here are the receipts for everything that was spent. And this is a purpose for why it was spent. If there's any reimbursements, then at that point, they're reimbursed. We're also told you can't pay taxes on them. So all of the transactions that you use on P cards, because it is taxpayer money, you cannot pay taxes. So it needs to be tax exempt. Every single transaction needs to be tax exempt. If for some reason there was a transaction that was made that the vendor or the store or whomever did not take away taxes, then I would have to go back and I would have to reimburse the city for those taxes. If for some reason there was a transaction where receipts were not turned in and not reconciled, or we lost them, because we did have an instance like that in my office, where we had purchased tamales for a meeting that we had, and my staff member did lose a receipt. It was $78, I believe, and we went ahead and we reimbursed the city for that because we couldn't provide that receipt. But again, that opportunity is given to everybody through that reconcile process to make sure that everything is legitimate. And if it's illegitimate, then you have to pay it back. And again, that's part of the training. That's something that they tell you. If you pay taxes, if you lose a receipt, if something is illegitimate, then you have to pay it back.
And when it comes to the purpose use of then that, again, the P card, was it described to you as a purchasing or procurement card? Do you recall?
Purchasing card.
Purchasing card. So for the purchasing card, P card, we'll just keep referring to it as that. What was the usage guidelines? I mean, you get the technical stuff about receipts and that things, but of the purposes behind it, what was the knowledge or training that was given to you on that specific aspect?
There wasn't any. It was just for your discretionary, like for whatever you needed for your district, whatever you needed for your office, whatever events you were having, you were allowed to use that P card. There's a second form of, I guess, expenditures that you can use, which is discretionary funds. And that also is included in the budget resolution. So what that means is that every year, every city council office is given $10,000 to be able to use on whatever you need for your district. So I know, like before, when it was a strong mayor form of government, city council representatives would use this money, for example, to purchase streetlights. So if like a neighborhood needed a streetlight, you would use that money for streetlights. So now the streetlights are also included in the budget. So you don't necessarily need that money for that. But again, it's discretionary. You can use for whatever you want. My office, District 6, when I left it with over $100,000 of discretionary funds, and that money should still be there. And it was the only office in all of the districts that had that amount of money. And it was because, again, we were being very careful with the way we were spending that money. And any events that were happening, we were getting reimbursed for them as well.
So, I mean, so district business in general was kind of the guidelines you were given, if not specific, like this is allowed, this isn't allowed, as long as it filed
that's
onto
what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay.
I could literally go from like purchasing tamales to purchasing the street light. Like there is just no in between of how you, as long as it's being used back on the community, it's being given back to the community. Like that's all that you really are required to do.
So when it comes to the investigations, the actions being taken by the internal auditor for the city of El Paso, specifically that's been noted by, among other things, our news partners at KFOX 14 and CBS 4 Local, the chief internal auditor for the city of El Paso, now going into investigations, but having come out with some initial reports that, again, the chief internal auditor, Edmundo Calderon, said he will be looking into activity of purchasing cards and gas cards, and that they are currently reviewing that data going back to 2020 at this point, as far back as that. When it comes to that activity and what has been said so far, how do you respond to that, or what do you have to say about what is going on currently with that?
Right. So I want to remind everybody that what started this whole drama, this whole thing was there was, I guess, an anonymous call made towards about me during my campaign last year, saying that I was
Mm-hmm.
using my fuel card for my campaign, which was completely false. But it was just to put it into perspective, it was clearly politically motivated. That's what started this whole thing. And so whatever happened, they did their investigation. The police department took it seriously. They presented it to the DA. Both the police department and the DA said, hey, there is no, whatever this is, doesn't rise to the level of a crime. There's nothing here. There was no policy. There is nothing that says that something was done incorrectly. So they made the recommendation to go ahead and just drop it. Like, there is nothing here. Let's drop it. But city council, and I want to say, my successor, Art Fierro, is the one that I believe is pushing for all of this. He did put some items on the agenda to look into the expenditures of fuel cards. And when that happened, I felt very targeted, and I felt that he is abusing his power of office to be investigating me, and in a sense is campaigning, right? Because I feel targeted. Why stop at 2020 when I came into office? Like, why not go back to when this whole usage was, or the whole fuel card and the P card were implemented? Those systems were implemented. Why not go back all the way to then? Like, why stop at me? And why not look at other previous members of council? Why again only look at me? And so I feel very targeted by this, and I feel that it's being used in a way to defame me, to silence me, and to keep me from running ever again. I have not made a decision whether I'm running for office or not right now. My focus is on my family. I am currently looking at getting certified to be a history teacher, and so that's where I'm focused right now. I try to help my community. I try to do good by my community. But honestly, like, when you have these types of repercussions where you're now trying to live your life as a private citizen and you're consistently being attacked and defamed and slandered and harassed, I understand why there's a lot of people that perhaps would want to run for office and just are deciding to sit out because it's not worth it.
Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Claudia Lizette Rodriguez, former city council representative. And so some of the specific numbers, I mean, again, a full investigation being looked at and being pushed for since at the very least earlier this month by city council. But again, some of the usage reports that have already been put out, some of the documents that are available from, say, our news partners at KFOX 14 and CBS 4 Local, or also, again, El Paso Matters, having documents in some of their stories. One specific one dated as of June 5th of this month. City internal auditor to investigate city issued purchasing cards issued to city staff. One of the things that is mentioned there specifically is about the usage. You are quoted specifically here. I'm going to quote directly from the report. According to the usage report, former councilwoman Claudia Rodriguez, who is being accused of excessively using her gas card, spent nearly $13,000 from April 2022 to December of 2022. And think that's a little bit of a confusion there, because it also said that money was spent in several stores, including Walmart, Marshalls, and Target. So I think this is about the P card specifically, also referencing the gas cards used. So when it comes to the P card usage and the, again, $13,000 that is being referenced there, how do you respond to that part of the report that has been released so far?
Okay, again, I don't know what those $13,000 are specifically referring to. They're lumping it together with fuel and purchases. I do recall and I don't know if this is specifically again, sorry, I'm all over the place here. All of this would be resolved if the city had not lost the receipts. All of the receipts were turned in. That the Targets, the Walmarts, there was an event that I started back in 2020 during Halloween when everything was canceled. And so people were having a really hard time in El Paso, and these were underserved areas, specifically in the Mission Valley and Segundo Barrio, weren't really thinking about purchasing costumes for their kids. There was other priorities. And so me having kids, me being a mom, like, I understand the fun of Halloween. I understand the fun of dressing up. And I decided to have this event with people, with local companies here in El Paso that have partnered up with the city. And again, this is also not fair to them that they have been trying to be good partners and step up and give back to the community, and now they're also being looked at suspicious, like, "Why are you giving money?" And making it seem like the money that was given to us for costumes was somehow illegitimate. And so that's not fair to them, and again, it's gonna scare people from wanting to donate and to give back to the community because what for? Like, you try to do something good, and then you get all of this really bad repercussions come about it. So I think that when I started this event, it was just to help people and it helped, and people were so happy, and I have videos and I have pictures of kids that were so happy, parents were so thankful, they were grateful. It was a really just family type of event that was happening. As far as the Marshalls, I don't recall purchasing, at Marshalls. All I recall is one time I went in to make a personal purchase at Marshalls, and I accidentally ran the P card. I think it was for $29, and as soon as I took it out, I said, "Oh my gosh, no, not this card." And immediately there was a return. And so if they were to actually do their job correctly and investigate correctly, they would see that that money that was used was also immediately returned. And both of those receipts were turned into the city when we had the whole reconcile process happening for that month. Right before I left office, we were audited. My office was audited, and we were told that we were clear. Like every single receipt, every single transaction, there was no more discrepancies. Everything was clear. And so now I don't understand why months after I have left office, this is coming up again. And again, it's because I feel targeted. Because if the city was really doing their job correctly, then they would have copies of these receipts. I don't have copies of these receipts anymore. So I'm no longer in office. There is nothing I can do at this point. Like we turned everything in. I didn't take anything with me. Everything was destroyed. So I have no way of proving otherwise. But I do know that before I left my office, everything was audited, everything was fine, everything was reconciled, and we owed nothing. Everything was done correctly. And this, again, to me, is politically motivated.
So you're saying that you believe that the city of El Paso no longer has that documentation that you turned in, or would you like to see them do the full audit and investigation and release those findings, then showing what documentation is available and that reconciliation at this point?
I mean, at this point, if there is open records request for those receipts and they're not producing them, I'm assuming they lost them. Because there is no reason why they're not turning those receipts over to the media. They're turning in everything else, trying to make it seem like I did something terrible, like I'm a thief, I stole from the community, and that is not true. That is completely false. And I don't trust whatever process is happening right now. I don't trust it because, again, I feel that it is politically motivated and it is targeted at me.
One other reference I want to give you a chance to respond to directly here from the El Paso Matters article dated June 11th. City Reps Hernandez, Rodriguez drum up largest fuel card bills, spending policies, oversight long lacking. About a few paragraphs down into it, you're specifically referenced, quote directly from that article here, after being verbally warned by the chief internal auditor not to use her card for out-of-town fuel purchases following a fill-up in Pecos in 2020. Rodriguez filled up in Van Horn twice in 2022, once in Fort Stockton in 2021, and the holiday fill-up in Carlsbad. Document shown with the some of the purchase activity reports as pasted throughout the article. Part of that there. So you had some comment of that article here, and this was again cited by the Chief Internal Auditor Edmundo Calderon as being provided to the Financial Audit and Oversight Committee during a May 3rd meeting where he stated that there had been this verbal warning. So how do you respond to that specifically?
Okay, as far as the verbal warning, I've never talked to Edmundo. I don't know what Edmundo looks like. I don't know what he sounds like. I have no idea who Edmundo is. I only know Edmundo's by name now because of all this that started happening. I've never talked to Edmundo. Again, though, first of all, I don't know what those transactions are. I know that I was traveling to go look at places, historical places like the Fort Worth, the stockyards in Fort Worth. I was looking at the Toyota Music Factory. I was going to Marfa. I was going to Old Town in Las Cruces. I was traveling. I was doing a lot of this travel for research that I was doing for the Duranguito project and trying to see how we can potentially compromise. And I think that, I mean, that's a whole other story, but I do feel that I was able to finally bring closure to that project. It's a shame that this council decided to shut it down. But I do credit a lot of that work that I did, and I was traveling on my own accord. I was paying for my food, I was paying for, and it could have been considered official city business because that's what I was doing. A lot of other representatives travel all the time to do official city business, and I was driving places, I was using my own personal vehicle, I was paying out of my pocket for my hotels, for my meals, I was doing all of this, and I feel that whatever Edmundo is saying, I had he talked to me, all of this would have been explained. And it wasn't because I never talked to him. Now, if there was a process similar to the one where we have with the P cards where we have to turn in receipts and reconcile stuff, I mean, I could understand this if those things were illegitimate, then being fixed at the time. But there is no process. And so I don't know again who Edmundo is. I am willing to tell him to his face if I ever meet the man, I don't know you. I've never talked to you. And that's it. Like, I don't know who he is. I've never talked to him.
So when it comes to the resolution of this process here, again, we've previous interviews we've had on our airwaves with George Zavala, among others, speaking about the ethics complaint that he filed against sitting City Rep Cassandra Hernandez. You not subject to that one, as no longer on City Council and not within Mr. Zavala's district, the district that he lives in. The reason he gave for the reason that he filed it specifically, but still being mentioned in that. In the resolution of this process, of these investigations at the very least. Again, nothing at this point clear as having been filed against you specifically, but again, you being brought up and referenced in these news and reports. What do you want to see as the outcome of this here, and what do you feel should be the outcome, frankly?
I mean, I think, first of all, people need to be more involved in all the budget hearings. They happen throughout the entire year. And I think if you were involved in those, then you'd probably find where there's more money that's being spent, like millions of dollars that's being spent wrong, in my opinion. And that those types of expenditures actually do make a difference in the budget versus these. But if this is something that is really bothersome to the community, I feel that let's put in the proper process for it. And I hope that that's what comes about it. Like if there needs to be receipts that need to be turned in for fuel, if there needs to be limits, if there needs to be whatever, like there needs to be more than you can use at any airline. And so I hope that that's what comes out of this as far as the fuel goes. As far as the P card goes, I mean, I think that it's already a very secure process as far as we're having to reconcile everything. I personally don't see anything wrong with the process of the P card. Again, the only thing I would want to see is proper reporting as far as the years that this is happening. So again, really, instead of saying, there was all of this fuel that was spent in 2022, well, no, it needs to be fiscal year 2022, right? Because that would make a difference. And then fiscal 23, whatever. Those are, or the same thing with the P cards, that needs to be accurately presented, because I think that would make a huge difference. And it would really show that council is staying within budget, that council is doing their job as far as setting a budget, first of all, and then that budget is being respected. And that goes along also with the city manager's office, where all of those expenditures were also approved in the budget resolution. And again, if the public has concern about those expenditures, I would really recommend inviting everybody to those council hearings, to those council meetings, because I promise you, Andrew, no one ever goes to those meetings. No one is ever at those meetings. And so for me, I find it very unfair that people want to now come and attack, even like Representative Kennedy and Representative Fierro I never once saw them at any of those budget hearings. So for them to come and say that all of a sudden they know everything about the budget is false, because they were never there. Had they been there, they would have known that all of these transactions were already approved by council. Now, again, it's fine if people want to disagree with those expenditures, but again, do your part, go to the council meetings and voice your concerns there. If there's something in the budget that you don't agree with, then that is a time for the community to make their voices heard and say, no, I don't want my money being spent on that.
outside of any specific accusation or statements being made, there has been a sentiment expressed by some callers and commenters on this show and in a variety of other places I've seen online on the commentary of this issues and on these stories here, of that regardless of the amounts in comparison to the entire city budget of what we're talking about here with these P card and gas card usages, that this is a vestige or a smacking of public corruption in its own right, with the usage of this here and it being wanton and some of the other specific things that have been said along the lines of not in line with the values of El Paso, or this being a given how much the average person makes in El Paso, that this being not subject to more regulation or more overview of this is just not in keeping with the community. To those types of people, those people saying those kind of things, how do you respond? What would you like to say to them?
I mean, I understand, like I ran because I felt that I was struggling financially. I felt that the community, the city of El Paso as a whole struggles financially. And when I ran, some of the things that I wanted to do were, of course, to keep taxes low, which again we can debate whether that was accomplished or not. During my time there, the tax rate never went up. And so, but there is so much that is involved. Keep in mind, our budget is $2.3 billion for the city of El Paso. And from there, we pay 60% of that goes towards our public safety. And so, I mean, I feel that really, realistically, the city of El Paso is doing the best that they can with what we have. And if somebody has an issue with, and I don't blame you, but again, there was no policy. I don't think that this was something that was intended to get taken advantage of, or because, like I said, there's many other executive privileges that council has. For example, council can travel and park at the airport for weeks at a time and not have to pay for the parking, for the short-term parking. They can park at short-term parking and they don't have to pay for that parking. They have every year we were given a suite at the stadium, at the Chihuahua Stadium, for both a Chihuahuas game and a locomotive game. We get VIP treatment at all of the city events. And these are just things that come with being, I guess, elected officials. But if this is something that really bothers the community, then I think that they're in the right to voice those concerns and say, no, we don't want you to take away all of those executive privileges, or we don't want you to have a salary, whatever it is, and make it clear. And then when people run, I mean, they come in knowing that, hey, like, this is what it is. Like, you're gonna do this for free. You're gonna not have any privileges, and you're expected to be at all sorts of city events on a daily basis and go to community meetings on a daily basis and visit people at their homes on a daily basis, and you're gonna serve your community. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's why I ran. I ran to serve my community, and I felt that I did a lot. But you know what? I also have a family that I need to take care of. And for me to be able to, that I sacrifice so much of the time with my family to be serving my community, I think that, getting fuel paid was the least of it. Getting to take my kids on a Chihuahuas game was the least of it. But you know what? I was doing a lot more for my community. I was giving them backpacks. I was helping underserved kids with Halloween costumes. We gave over $15,000 to El Pasoans fighting hunger during COVID. I gave $15,000 to Lift Fund to provide $1,000 grants to small businesses in District 6. So I was doing everything that I could to give back to the community. I left over $100,000 in discretionary funds for District 6 in that office. That money is there. That money belongs to District 6. If anybody lives in District 6 and can think of a project that is worth $100,000, I would strongly suggest you reaching out to Representative Fierro and working with him, because that's what it's about. And really, like, our community, to me, is worth investing into. And all of this time, all of this work, all of this effort, all of these projects, I look at them as investments for the community. And we're giving back a lot more than the $5,000 or whatever it was for fuel.
Again, guest right now has been Claudia Lizette Rodriguez, former city representative for City Council District 6. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us, break down some of and respond to some of these specific things and general issues that have come up with this whole set of issues here today.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
So again, thanks to former city rep Claudia Lizette Rodriguez trying to get a little different thing with that interview. So that means we got to take that break right now. We will go ahead and take that break right now and open up those phone lines as well. And someone was anticipating that and just called in. So okay, it's full up at the moment, but keep that number handy. 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. I'm sure there's a lot to be said about this, and we'll be, of course, taking the calls throughout the second hour of the show here as well. But got to take that break, and probably a short one coming back after this, so probably won't get any calls right then. But stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. The woman accused of shooting an Uber driver after she thought she was being kidnapped and taken to Mexico has been charged with murder. According to police, 52-year-old Daniel Piedra was shot by his passenger on Friday. He was taken off life support yesterday and died. The passenger, 48-year-old Phoebe Copas of Kentucky, remains jailed on a murder charge now and being held on a $1.5 million bond. She told investigators that she shot the driver because she believed she was being taken to Mexico instead of her intended destination due to highway signs. But El Paso police say there is no reason to believe that Piedra was taking her to Mexico. A public vigil for Piedra is set to happen Friday night at 7:30 at Memorial Park. Former Congressman Will Hurd, who represented parts of Far East El Paso, says he's running for president. Hurd joins a crowded field of Republican hopefuls. The 45-year-old former CIA officer has been a fierce critic of the former president and says that he believes the Republican Party needs more common sense. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Watch for slowing for the accident reported on Montwood eastbound at Joe Battle Boulevard, or avoid delays taking alternate route like Edgemere Boulevard instead. Also a crash reported North Desert Boulevard. Before you get to Paseo del Norte at Helen of Troy, you could use Northwestern or Wrestler as an alternate route. Fire crews on scene for a medical emergency on Viscount eastbound at Sunmount. That's your traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Weather warned for heat all the way through next Thursday. We have the heat advisory going through late Saturday night, and then late Saturday night all the way through late Monday. We're looking at an excessive heat warning, as we could see temperatures 107 to 108 by early next week. For your Friday, hot as well, 105 degrees with breezy conditions, 105 also for your Saturday. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Have you ever wondered how Pride Month became ubiquitous? To find the answer, Red Pilled America tells the story of how a seminal battle led to its mainstreaming. Get in on the independent media revolution and listen to the show everyone's talking about, Red Pilled America, available anywhere you get podcasts.
Hi, my name's Tim Forehand. I'm a deputy sheriff. In my job, keeping in shape is important. I've tried other products to get my weight down, but nothing has worked like Andrew 400. In just 3 months, I've dropped 51 pounds, down from 230 to 179. Plus, the weight's come off in the stomach area. I've gone from a snug 36-inch waist to a 32-inch waist, which I was in high school. I highly recommend the Andrew 400 to all my friends.
Guys, are you frustrated because no matter how hard you try, it seems impossible to lose stubborn belly fat? Then discover why thousands of men each month rely on Andro 400. Lose belly fat, gain energy and confidence, and feel great about yourself. Andro 400, the safe, effective, and inexpensive way to boost your testosterone. Go to andro400.com or call 888-400-0435.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Have you ever wondered how Pride Month became ubiquitous? To find the answer, Red Pilled America tells the story of how a seminal battle led to its mainstreaming. Get in on the independent media revolution and listen to the show everyone's talking about, Red Pilled America, available anywhere you get podcasts.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America. This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Have you ever wondered how Pride Month became ubiquitous? To find the answer, Red Pilled America tells the story of how a seminal battle led to its mainstreaming. Get in on the independent media revolution and listen to the show everyone's talking about, Red Pilled America, available anywhere you get podcasts.
Hell El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Thank you again, El Paso, for making us #1 year-to-date in new car sales. As a gesture of gratitude, we're offering huge savings on all new and certified pre-owned vehicles. More for your trade with no payments for 90 days.
Thank you, boss man. This week at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Get $10,000 off MSRP on remaining 2022 Grand Wagoneer SUVs. Get $6,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks. Get $1,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Wrangler Sport and Sahara. Plus super low 2.8% APR for 72 months on 2023 Ram 1500 Laramie and Lone Star trucks. Worried about your trade or credit? Don't sweat it. Our aggressive lenders will push to improve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. It's the season of huge savings at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, and I-10 at Sunland Park Drive, or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso strong. Includes factory rebate dealer discount plus GTNL. 2.9% APR is $15.15 per thousand finance on select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
Well, it's a patented key ingredient called Testofen. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. It's backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text TIGER to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text TIGER to 42424. That's TIGER to 42424. Products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness.
Have you ever wondered how Pride Month became ubiquitous? To find the answer, Red Pilled America tells the story of how a seminal battle led to its mainstreaming. Get in on the independent media revolution and listen to the show everyone's talking about, Red Pilled America, available anywhere you get podcasts.
Rosetta Stone, where language is learned. rosettastone.com.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Projections were right. We're short timing at this segment. So as much to say as we got those phone lines open now. If well, they're full at the moment, but you can call in if you get the opportunity. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We've been popping up some of the comments over in our, on the social media itself here. And there's a lot going on there, like Joseph Lorenzen accusing Master Control. Yeah, that is a TV term. You did correct yourself, so I'll give you the credit where it's due. But, I mean, it's me, so we're here. We're not asleep at the very least. If I was, this is one of the more talented sleepwalking performances I can imagine being done. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take that break. But again, a lot of comments coming in, and we got those phone lines that we'll be getting back to because, yeah, a lot of conversation on this. I mean, we did an in-depth interview as we keep focusing on this subject for the reason that it's of interest and importance in our area, including some conversations like, who was it? Richard Janasik saying, always made copies of my business receipts. It's called CYA. And no, that does not stand for California Youth Authority. I don't remember what movie that's from, but it's stuck with me ever since. James Radcliffe questioning, you keep receipts even after you leave your job. I mean, if it's something that you're like claiming on taxes, I could see that, but hasn't exactly been my bag or something I've had to do. Well, not recently anyway. I did have mileage concerns previously and nowhere near this level or involvement with it. I just had to keep my receipts and log the mileage as a regular thing. So in any case, a lot more conversation I'm sure will be happening about that in order to avoid any other screw-ups. We're going to go ahead and take that next break right now. So coming out of this break, we will be talking more about this and all the other stories we got going on today. Some things out of the state of Texas, including the trial dates or the Senate hearings being now scheduled for the embattled Texas Attorney General. So a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of conversations. So back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch for slowing for the accident reported on Montwood eastbound at Joe Battle Boulevard, or avoid delays taking alternate route like Edgemere Boulevard instead.
News
Also,
on the
crash
hour
reported
and the
North
half.
Desert Boulevard.
Traffic and weather
Before
all
you get to
day.
Paseo
News
del
Radio
Norte at
690
Helena Troy,
is
you can use
KTSM
Northwestern
AM,
or
El
West
Paso,
as an
an
alternate route.
iHeart radio
Fire crews
station.
on scene for a medical emergency on Viscount eastbound at Sunmount. That's your traffic.
Okay, let's settle down. Since today is career day, stand up and tell the class what you want to be when you grow up.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The Coast Guard confirms the submersible used to view the Titanic was found demolished on the ocean floor and its 5 passengers are dead. Rear Admiral John Mauger said a robotic sub found parts of the missing Titan 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic. He gave his condolences to the family members affected.
I can only imagine what this has been like for them, and I hope that this discovery provides some solace.
It disappeared Sunday about 900 miles off the coast of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. There are reports of a tornado moving through the Denver metro area. Severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings had been in effect on Thursday, and large hail is also possible. Residents are being urged to take shelter. This comes after several people were hospitalized Wednesday night following a hailstorm in the town of Morrison. Democratic presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says Russia is acting in good faith in the Ukraine war. Speaking on SiriusXM, Kennedy said Russian President Putin has been open to negotiations. He pointed to the 2014 and 2015 Minsk agreements to end fighting in the Donbas region of Ukraine, although it never completely ended. House Republicans are putting off an effort to impeach President Biden, led by Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Lisa Taylor has more.
The conservative congresswoman introduced a measure to force the vote on her impeachment article earlier this week, despite Republican Speaker Kevin McCarthy's opposition to it. The articles accuse Biden of carrying out an invasion at the southern border. The vote to punt the resolution came out to 219-208 along party lines, with Republicans caught by surprise, calling it premature. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are dead serious about fighting each other in a UFC octagon. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Pope Francis says breathing difficulties forced him to skip out on giving a planned speech Thursday. He told a meeting of the Catholic Oriental Church that his breathing is not good. Francis noted that he's still feeling the effects of anesthesia following hernia surgery earlier this month. The 86-year-old Pope was asked how he felt, and he replied with, "I'm still alive." Francis returned to the Vatican last week after spending 9 days in the hospital after his surgery. Former Texas border Congressman Will Hurd is running for president. He used his first campaign video to attack Democrats on defense and foreign policy.
I'll put our American security and prosperity first, and I'll give us the common sense leadership America so desperately needs.
Hurd joins a crowded field of Republican presidential candidates that include Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, and Mike Pence. New Jersey plans to make a historic move to cut property taxes for senior citizens.
It's part of Speaker Craig Coughlin's Stay NJ plan, with the goal of delivering $6,500 to seniors in the form of a direct credit on property tax bills by the year of 2026.
Seniors who have done so much for our state should have the freedom to remain in their homes, near the people they love, in the communities that they built.
Hundreds of millions of dollars have already been earmarked in financial plans. While the state rolls out Stay NJ, eligible senior homeowners and renters will also see a 35% boost in relief through the Anchor Tax program. I'm Natalie Migliori.
Maternal mortality is declining significantly across the United States. A study published in the medical journal JAMA Network Open shows a more than 50% decline in the rate of pregnant patients dying of causes related to deliveries in the hospital. That's over a 14-year period from 2008 to 2021 among more than 11 million patients. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Get your tickets now
at AXS.com
for our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Coming back to Las Vegas.
2 nights.
September 22nd and 23rd.
1 stage.
At T-Mobile Arena.
Streaming live only on Hulu.
This is the iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Buy your tickets for our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival now.
Before they sell out.
At AXS.com.
That's AXS.com.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Shopping for new blinds? At Blindster, we offer over 50 different blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices, custom made for your windows, and shipping is free. Shop at home and order 10 free samples of any product before you buy. Blindster.com.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Rock and Roar Music Festival, June 24th, El Paso Zoo. Get your tickets at elpasozooSociety.org.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
Rover's Morning Glory.
It's The Woody Show.
It's Elliot in the morning.
All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
iHeartRadio Music Festival.
All of the best free curated playlists.
It's everything that rocks.
All of the great podcasts for every interest.
This is Freddie Prinze Jr. from the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
All of the mind-blowing contests.
$20,000.
Awesome. All of your favorite superstars.
This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Best of all, it doesn't cost a thing. Download the absolutely free iHeartRadio app now.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments come up in there. I mean, we got over just on the Facebook, just about 100 there right now going on, and a lot of people adding their 2 cents, and also dropping those likes and reacts, which we always appreciate. Helps with all those algorithmic things, including, oh, come on, give me the list. Okay. Ida Basic Gardner, James Radcliffe, Bernadette Bandicole, James Holmes, Amber Banda, Joseph Lorenzen, Monica Cervantes, Robbie Flores, and Flaco Jimenez, if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, do appreciate all of that, and if you so choose to do so. And some of the comments coming in, including on the CYA aspect of keeping receipts, like Augustina Pimentel saying, keeping receipts is so easy now. Take a picture. Recently did the whole van returning of a vehicle to rental car, and you bet your bunuelo. So I definitely took a just video around the entire damn thing, because white vehicles seem to just get a lot of scratches on them, don't they? Particularly in the rental sense. So you bet I was not going to try to take a picture individually of each one in that case, but just took the ding dang video. Worked out better that way. So I don't have that, as long as I don't brick my phone or anything like that. But others, including Edgar Ortiz, letting us know that he's on board, and Willie Jenkins saying on receipts that keep him in triplicate, and Richard Janesy clarifying that he had a retentive manager that kept losing receipts and would always be able to produce a copy. Hey, if it works for you, good for it. And John Adams saying, good point. I haven't left the job in over 30 years. After this, when I retire, I'm taking the folders with my travel receipts with me. I mean, I think there is a reasonable, once you get past like the IRS audit territory, I think you'd be pretty safe. But hey, you do you, is all I'm going to say. But a lot of other conversations and comments coming in, including on, I mean, the sub situation. Yeah, I know, as it's continuing to develop again, thoughts and prayers for the family, but also what the heck was going on with that whole, you would not have caught me going into that whole situation. I am perfectly fine seeing a video of the Titanic and this wreck of it and being perfectly happy with that, but that's just me. Anyway, get back to those phone lines there. Now, again, full up at the moment, but keep that number handy, 915-544-587-6544-KTSM, and some other commentary coming in, including James Radcliffe suggesting 7 to 15 years. Okay, reasonable enough. And then Mondo Mancanda disliking the IRS in general. So again, a lot of different aspects of conversations coming up. So let's go delve into those phone lines right now. We do have Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew, got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there do we still have a problem with an influx of illegals at our southern border?
In our area, I mean, short answer, yes, there is still that happening. It is by no means ceased in any significant way. We are looking at much lower levels in our area from the El Paso Texas.gov, migrant-crisis, one I often end up looking at. We are at one of the lowest marks. The current 7-day rolling average encounters is 597, which, again, is definitely not zero, but is certainly lower than the triple that amount that we saw a few weeks ago and towards the end of last year when it was about double that amount in its own right. So it's a matter of comparison at that point, but also, of course, in other sectors of the border. I mean, there's been the talk of, and even the pictures now, actual deployment of giant rotating barriers held in place by high tensile strength cables in the middle of the Rio Grande, where there actually is water in the Rio Grande, that kind of thing. So, yeah, stuff is certainly still continuing on when it comes to the response and the considerations with it, I would say.
So it's a matter that because you don't see a whole lot of people waiting at the Rio Grande or, escaping from CBP, that there's not any problem happening, right?
I mean, it's even when it's not making headline news, it's never exactly zero in our area, to my understanding. Even before there was, sites like this maintained by the public information from the city of El Paso, or other things like it, there's always a level. The part that is, of course, weird in the modern and in the last few years sense even is that, I mean, going back to 2018 is what they cite, is that we've seen a lot of it in our area. We were always considered kind of an offshoot, the tertiary at best kind of focus area, and that is not the case at the moment.
Okay, so out of sight, out of mind, right?
I guess you could argue that.
Since the end of Title 42, there doesn't seem to be a lot of illegals entering our country at the southern border. There's no visuals on TV, just like you just said. But is this true? Yes, there are no illegals seen at the Rio Grande waiting to get across because the Biden administration has found a way to hide the illegals through the CB1 app. I've always wanted to know what the CB1 app is. Found out today. By routing
the
illegals
CBP
to
one
the
up?
covered
Okay.
ports of entry, where they are processed, given an appointment in the distant future, and given a 2-year work permit as an incentive for them to go through this process so they won't reveal themselves to the U.S. public on TV on the border. That would continue the bad optics at the border that was occurring before the expiration of Title 42. That can't happen with this administration. These permission slips are being handed out without the authorization by Congress. The numbers of these admissions has been requested by Congress and several other organizations, but the administration won't provide them. But there are estimations that 5,700 are coming in per day this way. In other words, about 180,000 per month. This is in addition to the others that are still crossing without permissions. Have you heard of that one?
I mean, yeah.
Have you heard about this?
I mean, yeah, the CBP One app has been, that was part of, around about the time that the president visited this area. I mean, I had speculated at that point in time that him actually going to the border and having the optics of it was going to be subject to some kind of new policy. And that was what came out of it, the CBP One app, which was not meant to stop it entirely. It was meant to, I mean, the way they even said it at the time was to control
to get these people out of the public eye. That is what is happening. We're still having people crossing by extraordinary numbers into the United States, but they're not in the public eye anymore because of the CB1 app. And so the amount of people coming across the border, getting caught at the border or waiting at the Rio Grande, or trying to get in illegally, they're all waiting over there for the CB1 app permission, their appointment, and then they're coming in that way, and everybody thinks everything's okay. We don't have a problem with illegals entering our country. That is what the CB1 app did.
Yes, and I believe it's the CBP One app for
CBP One app.
Yeah, just to make sure everyone's on the same page here with it. So yeah, the CBP One app, was not meant to. I mean, there's been a lot of calls in different ways for closing down the border, shutting it, stopping all of that, and that was, to my understanding, never even the stated purpose of this. It was to direct it specifically, and so I mean, even of the last estimates I saw, and I still believe we're within an order of magnitude of it, about the 30,000, even waiting in Juarez, that is still the primary focus. I mean, there have been stories from a variety of different sources talking about many people trying to find signal, like people even going to certain hills in different locations that have, or even perceived to have better signal in order to get it when, the next round of applications for the next day or week or so opens up. So yes, I would agree with you that the CBP One app has been the focus, and particularly with as the removal of Title 42, Title 8 becoming the primary focus has put even more emphasis on that. And the interesting part is that message does seem to have gotten through to the constituent populations of focus on this, because previously when it was under Title 42, the difference was that was removal without any legal encumbrance. It was just removal, not any status that was then put on it. So under Title 8, and as is kind of further reinforced by the CBP One app, if you are removed for illegal entry, then you are then banned from any other processes, applications, etc. So that essentially all the impetus is then on that app. But yes, crossings and other things. I mean, the ones that, of course, you can see from the City of El Paso site there is primarily the encounters. So would not be those, to my understanding, that are there for going, scheduling, and presenting themselves at the ports of entry. So I would say that cutting down on what has been seen between the ports of entry, which of course was its own particular focus and a lot of the headlines making, has been more achieved than not. Again, the numbers bear out it's not over, because even that 500, just shy of 600, is just in our area, just in the El Paso sector. And one question I actually do have about that is that's even just the El Paso sector or just portions of it. But there do continue crossings. You are correct in that.
So to go back to my question, my initial question, is there a problem with still an influx of illegals at our southern border?
As much as
after what you've just heard, and assuming that is what is going on correctly, there's plenty of evidence on the internet if you look at it, everything. Are we still having a problem with an influx of illegals at our southern border? I mean, a huge immigration of illegals into our country through the southern border.
Migration, yes. Illegal.
I'm talking with the information I just gave you.
Yeah, sure.
Is there a problem? Yes or no?
Well, again, there's actually a definitional aspect we're talking about here, because migration, absolutely, there is a migration aspect to this, but essentially the argument that what the administration is putting forth is that those going through the app, that this is not illegal entry. So you call that a redefinition
it's not approved. It is not approved by Congress. There has been no authorization by Congress to give these permission slips out. Congress makes the laws.
Correct.
The Biden administration, the executive branch does not make laws.
It does not. That is correct. But it does interpret and therefore implement the laws. So if Congress is ticked about this, it's in their court to then say, no, this is not allowable, and therefore to pass laws on this. But, of course, there has not been laws passed by Congress on this since effectively the Reagan administration. So it would take them actually doing that, and therefore calling for other things, for that to be essentially enforced or proven the case.
Okay, my last question to you is, do you believe that there's still 180,000 illegals crossing the border and entering our country every month?
Again, there's a definitional question there, but about the attempts of crossing, I mean, there's no indication that
not attempts. I'm talking through this CB1 app.
Through the CBP One app, I mean, the numbers that were, even when it was being implemented, there was the 7 countries that we talked about, including Venezuela. Don't have the exact list in front of me. I mean, the idea was to see I think on that order of magnitude, maybe in the tens of thousands, what I recall more directly, to be admitted every month as part of it. That's what then drives the certain amount of appointments that are then available.
180. That was supposed to be 30,000 per month.
Right. That's what sounds more accurate to me.
I've just shown you evidence, okay, that 5,700 are coming across per day, 180,000 per month by using the CB1, the CBP1 app. And so are we still being invaded or not? Yes or no?
I don't like the term invaded. I'll be perfectly honest with you, because we're talking about military terms that leads to a lot of other implications. Okay. Are we still seeing a lot of people, the pressure that I'm talking about, still coming here? Absolutely. That's one of the things about the end of Title 42 that it didn't really solve, is that, I mean, again, the estimates of, tens of thousands of people waiting just in our area in Ciudad Juarez, yes, that is still continuing on.
I love you spin this. I really do. You stay well, stay safe. God bless you. And thank you for your time. And let's go, Brandon.
Well, thank you for the point in the call and the discussion on it. You have a good one there as well. All right, with that, let's take that next break right now. Coming out of this break here, I mean, I'm just trying to go on the way I see it and the way I call it on this and the numbers that we do have available in our area, because there is still a lot of response to the situation happening, even if it has moved off of, street corners, what's visible, driving around, etc. Even as one other commenter did say it, Joseph Lorenzen saying just drive up 54 and look at that huge tent city, the one that was announced. Again, there's a lot of good Twitter resources that I would actually recommend people to towards it gets a vestige of the transparency in any case from the chief patrol officer for the El Paso sector, talking about that finally coming up and in operation. So let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we will get to more calls, more comments, more of everything we do at this point during the show after this. So if you want to get on the line, line's available now, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at the Schuster on-ramp, a 3-vehicle accident partially blocking that entrance ramp. I-10 westbound is stop and go from Trans Mountain up to Vinton. It's a 12-minute delay. An accident reported I-10 eastbound at the Loop in the Lower Valley. And police are clearing up an earlier accident northbound Mesa at Donovan Drive. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Hunter Biden pleads guilty, and it's a deal that every American should be angry about. It protects Joe Biden and the Biden crime family. I give you all the details on the Ben Ferguson Podcast, so download it right now wherever you get your podcasts.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
Well, it's a patented key ingredient called testofen. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. It's backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text TIGER to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text TIGER to 42424. That's TIGER to 42424. Products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness.
Are you suffering from seasonal allergies? Because you're not alone. Experts say pollen season started earlier this year and will last longer, and that folks who've never had issues before are feeling miserable. I'm Martin Hoke, inventor of Navage, the world's only nose cleaner with powered suction. Over 3 million people use Navage to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, helping to flush out allergens, mucus, and germs. Navage helps clear your sinuses quickly and naturally. But what about other people's experiences, like Miss Clement? Quote, I chose Navage because of my persistent allergies. Navage works. While using it, I cut back on allergy meds and occasional shots at my doctor's office. Unquote. That's one of over 120,000 reviews with a 4.6-star average written by people who use Navage to breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier. Stop suffering and try Navage today at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
If you're hiring, it can feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. Like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Now try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/FREE.
My mom and dad are the best. Ever since they called the early childhood program, I'm doing so much better, and mom and dad don't worry or stress as much as they used to. They seem a bazillion times happier, and all services are free.
Parenting isn't easy, so we signed up for the free early childhood program at the El Paso Center for Children. They taught us how to deal with COVID-19 stress and be better parents. Lots of other free services are available. Call 915-500-4105. That's 500-4105.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. So the numbers, to give a little bit more clarity on it here, that are is actually a news item from the end of last month that we didn't mention on air, that CBP One app admissions getting closer to about 40,000 per month, and upping that to being approximately 1,250 a day, according to CBS News here. But from the numbers from CBP One themselves is that, I mean, there are still plenty of encounters going on, including the El Paso sector is still one of the hottest areas. That for April, last full month for which data is available, still processing May, it looks like, there were 42,000 encounters in our area, and for the entirety of the border sector, there was 183, and this is from fiscal year 2023 stats. So it's still continuing on. Again, the pressure has not lessened, even if, there's a lot of other factors going on with it. Generally, things are down, but we're still seeing a lot in El Paso. I mean, we're up 88% year over year from for the existing months already for fiscal year 2022 versus 2023. So El Paso continues to be a focus on it, even if there are other things going on. Look, if you want simple but wrong, you can get that just about anywhere. But if you want complicated but as close to true as we can get in one time, well, we're here to have that discussion. Anyway, it's about those phone lines here right now. We do have Michael in Cielo Vista on the line with us here right now. Michael, thanks for joining us.
Yes, hello. How are you today?
Doing right there. What's on your mind?
Good. I was just wanting to comment on the comments that representative, even though she's not in office,
former rep.
she made.
Claudia Rodriguez.
You know, she made comments, first of all, like about the meetings, and she said that claims that nobody goes. Well, understandable. You know, those meetings are during the week. They're during midday. I mean, people work. Maybe they could make a couple in the evening every once in a while to make it more accessible. That's one thing. Second of all, when she said that she didn't even know who Mr. Calderon was, you know, he's the chief internal auditor. He's not like a guy looking out for people. He has a group of auditors that their job is to protect and make sure that, you know, are not stealing. I mean, because I see it as stealing. His team, they're the ones that undercovered the bus drivers when they were taking advantage of overtime. His team is the team that got the police officers when they were saying that they were putting overtime when they actually weren't. So I'm grateful to have somebody like that. But for her to not even know who he is at this point, I would just like her, and I'm sorry that she's not in office for whatever reason, but I wish she would just fess up. She said all these things that she's done, and that's very good, fine and well. But at this point, you're caught. Doesn't seem like you're going to be prosecuted for anything. I think the best and most honorable thing would be to say, I'm sorry, and just move on. And that's basically all I have to say. I mean, people need to know who the chief auditor is and what his responsibilities are to the community. He's not singling out people. He's making sure people don't do things like this.
All right, well, fair enough. Well, thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Okay. Appreciate you, sir. God bless.
You too as well. I mean, there's a lot of considerations that go into this, but I still find myself on the side of saying transparency. Sunlight, again, great disinfectant. So I guess maybe kind of in the line of what the, again, former city rep Claudia Rodriguez talking about there, saying, look a little bit further back. I mean, I could see a usefulness of that, even if there have been some of the other questions brought up by like El Paso Matters, and at least one of the articles that we've linked out there about when did it actually start. That's a little bit murky at this point. So I wouldn't be opposed to looking even further into this and saying, okay, let's see what's actually been happening the whole time, even if I could also see that being construed as okay, what about the current situation? And, trying to distract from it. Let's get to at least one more phone call before we hit that next break right now. We do have Johnny over in Central on the line with us here right now. Johnny, thanks for joining us.
Yes, I'm going to comment on this embarrassing situation just happened a few days ago. And you can't say it because you're a host, but I'm going to do everything but say all these other words.
Okay.
That's unallowable. But that woman is a scumbag of the earth. She had the audacity to get in this man's vehicle and use the fact that she thinks she's being kidnapped into Mexico. I did some thinking about that. I'm thinking that the reason she didn't want to go into Mexico, she produced it right away. That was that handgun. Probably didn't want to go out of the country and being caught over there, or definitely be being caught coming back with the gun. And I'd heard about this a day or so ago. I used to go to Speaking Rock years ago, back when they had table poker and stuff like that. And I remember back then they had a law about not bringing, a rule about not bringing weapons in. And so I called them yesterday when I first heard this thing before it made the news. I said, do you guys allow open carry? And this lady right away, she must have thought it was me asking to come out. She said, no, not only we don't allow open carry here, we don't allow it on the parking lot. We have people on the parking lot. So she wouldn't have made it into Speaking Rock anyway, as you probably heard. She was going out there to meet her boyfriend or something.
Right.
So rather than, and I'm wondering why didn't she ask the man just to take her back or pull over, whatever. She probably didn't ask any questions at all. She pulled the gun out and shot the man in the head, killing him and also risking the injury and death to others because they have them out there on the freeway. And it's just so, people nowadays, and I just hope that I don't know if they do this or not, but I wish taxis and Ubers and so forth made a rule not to allow people to bring weapons into the vehicles when they pick them up to take them or wherever they're going to take them. And she's in jail for $1.5 million. I'm going to say it. I don't care what anybody else say. I hope she never gets out of prison, ever. Period. That's my thoughts.
Well, fair enough. I mean, again, a difficult situation overall, particularly the decision that the family has had to make here. And she is facing now murder charges. I do believe that a hearing at least it was scheduled for Friday. I don't know the status of that now with those upgrades of those charges here already, but it's entirely possible. But that is an interesting point that you bring up. Obviously, she had it. As much as, again, this is information coming out from police, this is still accused, nothing has been adjudicated in court. Let me just say all of that. But yeah, you definitely can't go to, that's on all those signs as well. There's no handguns after there was a few notable incidents. I want to say back like in the 90s. I remember that like growing up being a thing of people accidentally ending up there and ending up doing some hard time in Mexico dealing with that. So I guess that's an interesting other wrinkle. We'll see how that ends up playing out within any of the courts or filings or any of these kind of things. So again, anticipating there was anticipated an update on that one. At the very least, I think a bond hearing or something along those lines tomorrow, but we'll see if that one still ends up happening.
I keep saying, I mean, who kidnaps a person by themselves and sitting up in the front of a vehicle? You're the most vulnerable person in the world. I'm talking about the driver, and that's a lie she tells the rest of the world. And all of us know this. Going down 54, there is some confusion. And us people who live here know, but I can understand out of town and being confused. But when she saw Mexico, I'm quite sure all she thought about. This is me talking. I believe this. That handgun, and maybe something else in that purse too, illegal drugs or whatever. Who knows? And when I saw her, that portrait of her, she looked like she might have been drunk or high off or something anyway. And who want to kidnap her in Mexico anyway? She doesn't look kidnappable. Yeah, I'm going off. That's how I feel. Okay, Andrew, I'll be quiet now.
Sure. Well, appreciate the point in the call, and I can certainly understand you feeling a way about these things there. So do appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
I will say this, that's a quick look up from uber.com/safety/follow law is that riders and their guests, as well as drivers and delivery people, are prohibited from carrying firearms while using the Uber platform to the extent permitted by applicable law. And other things mentioned on this is that they, if it happens, they will ban you from use of the service in the future. So it is technically against their policies already. Was a minor part of the overall stories on this, but I do believe that it was stated by the Uber reps that were quoted as part of particularly the interviews from our news partners at KFOX 14 and others that this rider has been banned from the platform for the future. Again, a minor note, so to speak, in the whole situation, but since you brought it up, interesting one to be made there. See if I can find that specific quotation here to make that clear. Well, we got to take that break right now. So coming out of this break, we'll talk more about that and what's going on with this. And I think I found that one already, but we'll take that break right now. Coming out of this break, we got more calls, comments, everything going on the line. So if you want to get there, add your 2 cents. That number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. The woman accused of shooting an Uber driver after she thought she was being kidnapped and taken to Mexico has been charged with murder. According to police, 52-year-old Daniel Piedra was shot by his passenger on Friday. He was taken off life support yesterday and died. The passenger, 48-year-old Phoebe Copas of Kentucky, remains jailed on a murder charge now and being held on a $1.5 million bond. She told investigators that she shot the driver because she believed she was being taken to Mexico instead of her intended destination due to highway signs. But El Paso police say there is no reason to believe that Piedra was taking her to Mexico. A public vigil for Piedra is set to happen Friday night at 7:30 at Memorial Park. Former Congressman Will Hurd, who represented parts of Far East El Paso, says he's running for president. Hurd joins a crowded field of Republican hopefuls. The 45-year-old former CIA officer has been a fierce critic of the former president and says that he believes the Republican Party needs more common sense. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
I-10 eastbound at Schuster, an earlier 3-vehicle accident is partially blocking the on-ramp. An accident reported North Desert Boulevard at Artcraft. El Paso police responding to a crash eastbound I-10 at the Loop in the Lower Valley. And I-10 westbound still stop and go due to road construction, Trans Mountain up to Vinton with 10-minute delays. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Weather warned for heat all the way through next Thursday. We have the heat advisory going through late Saturday night and then late Saturday night all the way through late Monday. We're looking at an excessive heat warning as we could see temperatures 107 to 108 by early next week. For your Friday, hot as well, 105 degrees with breezy conditions, 105 also for your Saturday. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Hello, neighbor. El Paso Children's Urgent Care is moving in on June 5th at the corner of Saragosa and Richbeam. Our new non-emergent urgent care will treat all minor acute illnesses and injuries. Goodbye ER wait times and hello non-emergent walk-ins. There's only one El Paso Children's Hospital. In case of an emergency, visit El Paso Children's Hospital Emergency Department. For more information, go to elpasochildrens.org/urgent care.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Want to save big on custom faux wood blinds, shutters, cellular shades, and more? Shop Blindster today and save up to 50% over comparable blinds from brick and mortar stores. Get custom blinds at low prices and free shipping at Blindster.com.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
City streets or small towns, everyone deserves a clean, green community. We are Keep America Beautiful, the nonprofit working to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify communities. Let's do beautiful things. Visit KAB.org.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. A lot of people tuning in, chiming in over there, including... Yes, I get the sentiment here. Richard DeMille saying, kill someone and get banned. What's next? A timeout and no TV. But... well, I did find that quotation from the article from Tuesday from our news partners at KFOX 14. Woman who shot Uber driver believed she was being kidnapped into Mexico, took photo of injured driver. They do include a statement quotation from Uber following the shooting saying, quote, "We are horrified by the rider's actions. Violence is not tolerated on the Uber platform, and we banned the rider as soon as we were made aware of what occurred. Our thoughts are with Mr. Garcia and his loved ones and have been in touch with his family. Our public safety teams stands at the ready to assist police as needed." So, I mean, sure, I get the perspective on it, saying that, okay, this is a ban, but I mean, I guess that's what's in their power. I'm not saying it's the most relevant thing going on in this whole situation, but, well, it was brought up, and so following through with it there. But other comments coming in, including, not getting 5 stars. Again, banned from the platform, but also touched about layoffs and about a risky profession. And yet it feels like there's a difference to this, doesn't there? Because, I mean, there's been videos of people like Uber drivers being robbed or scammed or things like that I've definitely seen in the past. And that's one thing. But the almost senseless aspect of this is just messed up. And why, I mean, I just want to see the process go through correctly to reach its I'm sure we all have our own opinions on it, what the conclusion should be, but certainly have mine and certainly want to see that not interrupted if at all possible. I'll just put it that way. Anyway, still taking those phone calls. Of course, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Raul in the Northeast in the line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. We'll talk about grifting and grifters. How about those Supreme Court justices? Republicans Uncle Thomas and Samuel Alito, who have been taking these unreported multi-million-dollar free trips, private jets to islands and remote locations with right-wing billionaires with billion-dollar cases in front of the Supreme Court. Corrupt. I mean, this is so corrupt. Trump's radical Supreme Court justices approval has dropped to an all-time low of 30%. So the distrust in government continues. It's sad, and this is because of Trump's guys there, and the way they got them in there. All that finagling that Mitch McConnell did. And how about the grift and nepotism of Trump's kids? Ivanka and Jared, making multi-millions of dollars while they were serving in the White House. Let's see their laptops. Jared got himself a $2 billion money management contract from the Saudi monarchs that at one time Trump blamed Saudi Arabia for the attacks on 9/11. But here his son-in-law is getting $2 billion to manage from them. He's not a money manager. He's a real estate developer loser in that. But and now the Saudis are buying out professional golf tournaments. I'll tell you what, I bet Jared and Trump probably showed them secret the U.S. foreign intelligence. Now about another news item. The House just voted to refer Biden's impeachment resolution to a committee, but they started an inquiry. So I guess this is the Republicans playing payback. It's really, so they're going to try to impeach Biden. That's great.
I'm aware of the effort you're talking about, though I do believe it was voted down as of the moment because some felt blindsided and that was premature, though it was a pretty thin margin as it is. We'll say that, the Supreme Court has been finding that, the polls on it, one of the lowest registered ones ever since 2004. I mean, we've asked that question a little bit to try to bring it to some of what we've actually done on our airwaves here on this program about it being the way the poll and the way, not what the polls reveal, but the way that the appeal or the perception of the court is managed. That was something very much done by Chief Justice John Roberts since the beginning of his tenure in the position, because he was coming into, and the one you're referring to there, I believe it's the Quinnipiac, I'll never say that one right, poll. They started asking that one in 2004, but of course the 2001 and the whole Bush v. Gore case was one of the aspects that led to there being questions about it. So it doesn't count on that period as well, I will say. And that was very much, as we had, again, previous interviews, and want to say it was like last year when we were talking about the Supreme Court decision affecting the Tigua tribe, Isla del Sur Pueblo, and their aspects of it, and how, what the future of the court kind of looks like, that there has been a considered unleashing of it, and whether or not that plays into this, not totally clear on that aspect of it, but let's just say, anytime there is even smackings of public corruption, about the only solution for it is sunlight. So whether or not there were full rules in place or not there as well is almost a moot point in my mind, because if they're not doing what people think that they should be doing, I mean, there's a lot of power that the Supreme Court has in just saying, whether the rulings are viable or not. And so public perception, as much as it may not be a part of case law, absolutely plays into it. So I know you're kind of gleeful and giddy about those in certain ways, but on the local aspects, as Friday is not today, or at the very least, I've missed quite a lot of appointments today. Anything you want to say on particularly like the local corruption aspect that we've been talking about, or at least the issues with it?
Well, El Paso's run by West Side white plutocrats for the most part. Now there are Hispanics in positions of power and political power, but the big money for a long time has been in that among that elite group of people. Just go over there to the Coronado Country Club and look at the pictures of the mayors of El Paso and see how many of them were Mexican American relative to the total number of mayors there and relative to the population in the community. So money has always been part of it. And what they do is they can always find enough politicians, Teodaco, to sell out to the plutocrats. And then the plutocrats, I mean, they do a lot of business in town. The city and the county buys a lot of stuff. They all want to get some of that city and county money, that tax money, and that's part of it. And they, and they have their primaries that really determine the stronger candidates who are going to get the money. This has been going on all my life. There's nothing new about it, and that's why El Paso is a poor city. That's why El Paso is a dirty city. That's why El Paso it doesn't have any vision outside of what makes those guys money, and maybe helps a few people here and there, but it's really a sad situation. And it's just, like I say, it's really nothing new. And if everybody went out and voted, it wouldn't make a difference, Andrew, if you have the same money nexus thing going on, and the average El Paso, like the average American, they don't have any money to give to politicians. So that is seeded to those who do, and those who play the game at the highest levels and have been playing it for a long, long time. It's what's baked into the cake of America, a capitalist system, a plutocracy with not a whole lot of democracy, and lots of efforts to keep democracy from happening, and by gerrymandering, and of course, the money is the biggest part of it, and all of that. It's really a sad situation. I feel sorry for the young people of the day and what they are inheriting. Not for my generation. I didn't do it, and I tried to speak to it and change it as much as I could. But from these things that are big forces that have been in play for a long, long time.
I'm not going to disagree with you on saying that plutocracy is a bad thing, but I'm going to firmly disagree with you on the idea that if everyone went out and voted, everyone eligible to do so, registered voters, those that could be registered but aren't currently, of which I'm sure there are also plenty of those here in town, if not the majority of the population, that wouldn't change anything. I mean, again, it would fully love everyone to be fully informed, knowledgeable about the issues, able to hold a cogent, coherent discussion on the facts of what is going on and what the issues are of the day. But I wouldn't imagine that would happen overnight. And I don't think that charting a course towards it would be a bad thing at all. But if everyone, and I do mean everyone, able to vote would actually go out and do it, if we were to see 100% voter turnout, I'd be having a hard time picking my jaw up off the floor. But also, you can't tell me that you wouldn't reasonably think that things wouldn't be a little bit different, because here's the thing about private money, spending on elections and stuff like that. It works best when the turnout is small, because sure, one person giving, let's just say, $1 million may have its own influence, sway those that don't know what to think but manage to wander their way into a poll box or whatever have you. But if you're saying that you got 500,000 people donating $2 each, because sure, not going to say that everyone can or should. I don't donate politically because, well, that's not what I can do in this kind of position where we talk about things. I mean, we don't make editorial decisions. I don't say I like this candidate or not. I'll just say there are these issues, and these are the ways that I may end up feeling about them more than anything else. But you can't tell me that you would have a little bit of supposition about what an outcome of that kind of election would be, of one donor versus, again, hundreds of thousands. Not saying that everyone has to, but I mean, that is, I guess, one of the suppositions put forth by the Supreme Court in the, I'm forgetting the decision offhand, but the one that basically said that money is speech, which I have, Citizens United. There we go. And so let's people put their money where their mouth is, or their speech in any case. So yeah, I'd still got to firmly disagree with you on that, because, okay, let's just say we're nowhere near that as a problem right now of everyone going out to vote. So let's get there first, and then we'll decide if we got other bigger fish to fry. But I'm going to put this forth as my supposition on the entire matter, that if everyone was going out to vote, we might have a few less problems. Anyway, okay, appreciate the point in the call for what it's worth, as we're keep dabbling in Friday territory this whole last couple of weeks, I feel like, even when it's not Friday. I think we can squeeze in one more quick call. We do have a call on the line here, and as a warning, as we sometimes reiterate, call in the middle of a segment, you might get popped up live. So you're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
This is Marvin.
Hey there, Marvin. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind, since it is not Friday but Thursday, is your Raul problem.
Fair enough.
I don't get why you allow him to get on the phone every day and talk about national issues when it's Monday through Thursday. He's a rule breaker, which is pretty much.
Marvin, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you broke up there for a second here. So to your point, you're getting out of here about rule breaking. We hope that all of our callers, I mean, we don't do call screening. We don't do, hey, what are you going to talk about? We're not set up to do that. May or may not do it at a future point. But I will say that we hope everyone comes around to a cogent and local point as much as possible. And until that point, and when it's proven that it's not going to happen, we then do take action. But in the meantime, we are here to take the calls, and those willing to call in will entertain it until it's, shown that it's not what we're doing.
Well, I think Raul has a track record of breaking your rule many, many days, but it's almost comical. I don't know if he writes his scripts or if he gets them from a left-wing organization, but his sermons, his obsessions with Mr. Trump is just hilarious. He's been out of office for several years now, but these left-wingers can't get him off their mind. Mr. Trump we may not like his personality. We may not like the things he says sometimes. On the other hand, he kept more campaign promises in his 4 years in office than any president in my lifetime. I don't think Raul is even making a dent in those on the right who disagree with him. He's a socialist. We're not going to accept his socialist dribble. All of his sermons are falling on a lot of deaf ears out here. He's not changing anybody's mind.
Won't particularly disagree with you on that point there, but do appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Yes, sir.
I will say that we've had some that have tried to say, I'm trying to educate someone and doing about it. And the question that has remained unanswered from those attempting to make such an assertion is, has that ever particularly worked on you? And, well, I'll just go ahead and answer that one. No, but there's a reason we talk about the issues, because if this comes down to, my dad candidate can beat up your dad candidates, like, yeah, no, that's fifth, fourth, third grade at best. Anyway, we got to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll tell you a little bit what we're working on for you and what's coming up on the show. So let's go ahead and take that break right now. Coming out of this, more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at the Loop in the Lower Valley, the right interchange ramp is blocked by police on the scene for an incident there. Mesa Street at Donovan, another accident reported. A 3-vehicle accident from earlier eastbound I-10 at Schuster, still partially blocking the entrance ramp. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Want to save big on custom faux wood blinds, shutters, cellular shades, and more? Shop Blindster today and save up to 50% over comparable blinds from brick and mortar stores. Get custom blinds at low prices and free shipping at Blindster.com.
Are you suffering from seasonal allergies? Because you're not alone. Experts say pollen season started earlier this year and will last longer, and that folks who've never had issues before are feeling miserable. I'm Martin Hoke, inventor of Navage, the world's only nose cleaner with powered suction. Over 3 million people use Navage to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, helping to flush out allergens, mucus, and germs. Navage helps clear your sinuses quickly and naturally. But what about other people's experiences, like Miss Clement? Quote, I chose Navage because of my persistent allergies. Navage works. While using it, I cut back on allergy meds and occasional shots at my doctor's office. Unquote. That's one of over 120,000 reviews with a 4.6-star average written by people who use Navage to breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier. Stop suffering and try Navage today at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Did you know that only 2 in 10 El Paso County students graduate with a bachelor's degree? By supporting Border Youth Athletic Association's mission of educational attainment, you will create a long-lasting impact in our students' lives. Your monthly donation enables 4th through 12th grade students access to after-school programs, providing a safe and healthy environment. BYAA engages and empowers El Paso's future through mentorship and leadership development. We believe every player who gets an education wins. Do you? Go to borderyouth.org and show your support for our youth today.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of things we're working on for you here, including more on the Texas legislative session, which we didn't really able to get to here today at all, including I'll just say it right now, September 5th, date for Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas's impeachment trial. So get discussion on that coming up. Also, more response on the whole spending card situation, issue, concern, however you want to put it. Going to be working on having on more on that, including from current city rep Cassandra Hernandez. More response from that. So a lot more to come here. And I'll just say this. We have some hard and fast rules, including about can't swear on here, or no hate speech, no questioning someone's ability to exist, those kind of things. But as much as it is being talked about in the comments as a rule-breaking situation, look, the whole Monday through Friday thing, we'll keep doing this as we do. We do want to talk about the local stuff because we need to. There's no one else really doing that for us here, but it's not a bannable offense. Let's just put it that way, even if we do handle it. Not a slave to someone saying, oh, well, you got to just say what you say. I mean, we handle it in our own way, but I just say a lot of speech ends up speaking for itself. Anyway, that's doing it for us for today. Super out of time before the show. Want to thank everyone that did it. Tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. We'll do it again tomorrow as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. So until then, until next time, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Multi-vehicle accident I-10 eastbound in the lower valley at Zaragoza. Traffic is slowing. Expect delays I-10 eastbound from Trans Mountain over to the Patriots, a 5-minute delay. Medical unit on the scene of another potential accident, Mesa at Donovan Drive. And all the turnaround lanes are closed eastbound on Americas Avenue after Alameda to North Loop Drive. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
With an open channel.
I guess just try to keep channels open.
We welcome open-minded individuals.
I try to keep an open mind to all issues.
With open arms.
I think we need to always have our eyes open.
For open conversation. And when you open the iHeartRadio app, you open a whole new world. Wherever you are.
What should America do about immigration crisis?
I guess open the borders, but at the same time, check everyone that's coming in.
Open the gates.
A free download in the App Store or at ktsmradio.com. News on the hour, minutes away from the latest traffic news around town and around News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. A U.S. Navy official says the implosion of the Titan submersible was likely heard on Sunday. The official said in a statement that an analysis of acoustic data found that an anomaly consistent with an implosion or explosion was found in an area where the sub was when communication stopped. Expedition Unknown host Josh Gates says Ocean Gate CEO Stockton Rush made some questionable decisions.
It's also possible to have real questions about his own calculations of risk and the way in which he calculated risk for people that he was taking down in this sub.
The Coast Guard confirmed Thursday the submersible used to view the Titanic was found demolished on the ocean floor, and its 5 passengers are dead. House Republicans say testimony from IRS whistleblowers allege misconduct in the investigation into Hunter Biden's taxes. House Ways and Means Chair Jason Smith told reporters the testimony claims there was misconduct and government abuse resulting in preferential treatment for the president's son, Hunter Biden. Smith said the whistleblowers have also faced immediate retaliation. Pope Francis says breathing difficulties forced him